You know that time when you're having a very good day, everything is going your way. You woke up in the morning and you had a absolutely amazing sleep. You ate breakfast and it tasted amazing, and then the rest of your day is just perfect. But then you learn something that is so bad, it just completely ruins your day, and there's basically no way to fix it. And most of the time when something like that happens, it's usually something extremely small, and it doesn't really matter when you think about it. Like, a easy good example is stubbing your toe. Absolutely no one likes when that happened to them, and it could just easily derail your day. Well, something like that ended up happening to me, and that was, I ended up learning that Gigantic, one of the best games to ever come out, was playable for one day, and I didn't know. So I ended up missing it, and that is extremely sad. Now, I'm positive that most people who are watching this probably have absolutely no idea what Gigantic was, and it makes sense. That game is on the dead game list, where it didn't really last that long, but this time it was actually something extremely sad. Because the majority of the time when games just get completely forgotten is usually because it wasn't really that good in the first place. I know there's a lot of people who like to walk around and think that every time when something is like not popular and not enough people are talking about it, that means it's a hidden gem. No, that's usually not true. The majority of time it's just that no one cared about it. But I promise you, Gigantic is different. This was a game that was absolutely amazing. I used to spend hours of my time playing it. I was trying so hard that I was literally becoming like a biohazard on how smelly I was becoming. And the sad part is, I wasn't even good at the game at all. I was actually really bad at it, but I didn't care. I kept on going over and over again because I had so much fun. Now, what was Gigantic? Well, it was an action-packed hero shooter and MOBA, and it ended up releasing around 2016. Now, me saying that sentence, you can probably come down to the conclusion why it died. And if you can't, let me tell you. During 2016, a very small indie game ended up releasing. Not a lot of people played it, and that game was called Overwatch. Yeah, I know it's hard to believe now, but back then, Overwatch was actually really popular, and a lot of people actually used to like the game. It's not like that anymore. They have completely destroyed their reputation, and now when people think about Overwatch, they just think about how absolutely terrible it is, and how disappointed Blizzard is, and how they are trying to sell people $40 skins. But yeah, when Overwatch ended up releasing, basically every single game that was a hero shooter was just completely dead. They didn't stand a chance at all, and the majority of them got shut down. Shockingly, the only one that was able to survive was actually Paladins, which was very surprising because I remember when that ended up releasing, a lot of people were making fun of it and just calling it a Overwatch clone, saying that this game is unexpired and absolutely no one was going to play it. But that game was able to grow a fan base that was kind of small, but it was committed. And that's really all you need. If you have people who are consistently playing your game over and over again, it doesn't really matter how small the player base is. If they are spending enough of money, they could really keep the game alive. And Paladins is a core example of that. And it's also extremely funny to think about that now Overwatch is copying what they were doing, because back then, Paladins, I don't know why I said back then, it still is now, is a free-to-play game where you have to go and buy heroes, and I think it's funny that Overwatch is doing that now a couple of years later. So back then, Paladins was called an Overwatch copy, and now Overwatch is copying Paladins. But I'm getting off topic again. Basically, every hero shooter that released around 2016 basically just died immediately. They didn't stand a chance at all. But Gigantic was extremely fun. It had a really small player base, and a lot of people were playing it, and I was part of that group. But unfortunately, we ended up getting some extremely bad news that the game was shutting down. The developers say that not enough of people were playing the game, and they had to shut everything down. And that was really sad. I can still vividly remember the time when that ended up happening. And me and a lot of other people were playing the game on the last day. It was very sad. And then after that, no one could play Gigantic anymore. And it kind of just got forgotten. Not really a lot of people were talking about it. Until, suddenly out of nowhere, people were getting sent an email that the game was going to be reopened for 1 day. Yes, if you got sent this very special email, you were able to play Gigantic. And when that ended up happening, a lot of people decided to go and do that. I ended up hearing that the top players that it ended up getting was around 8,000 players on Steam. And that is a lot. And after that day was over, it got shut down again. Now, the whole reason why something like this was able to happen is because it seems like Gearbox were able to get the right of Gigantic, which is something that I think is extremely cool. Because Gearbox now own the right, there is a chance where the game could actually be resurrected, because it seems like they still have the code. Because everyone who was able to play the game, they say it was just like how it was in 2016. The UI was exactly the same, all the audio was the same, it wasn't completely broken, and people were able to play the game. And then, I felt extremely sad, because I missed out on my chance to play it. I didn't even know this email existed. I ended up learning about it after the event was over. And that is extremely sad, okay? I am completely ruined. I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to be able to recover from this, that I literally missed a chance to play one of my favorite games. Because I used to love Gigantic. Yeah, the game was a little rough around the edges, and some things were pretty annoying about it, but it was a game that was made with a lot of heart, and you can clearly tell the developers really cared about what they were making, and they're just trying their hardest to make a good product, but unfortunately, it just wasn't able to get enough of players and start a real community to make the game last. And that is very sad. If any game deserves a second chance, Gigantic is that game. And I really do hope in the future we're able to see a revival or maybe a sequel. Anyway, this is just something that I want to talk about. My name is Lua. You have a good day or night. See ya.